we go. Are we live? What is happening?
Is your Wi-Fi on?
I don't even know. We're starting in the middle of the song, though.
Those napkins in here.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's what glove compartments are literally for. They're for napkins. Not your registration, not your vehicle registration. They're for napkins and Swenson's menus.
I don't. Swenson's menus. That's awesome. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Are we on here? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay. All right. I'm gonna put this here. It is cold. Brenda says she's not grouchy. But I'm telling you right now, she is.
I'm cold.
It is so cold.
I'll warm up when it warms up.
All right, and so here, disclaimer, it's 15 degrees here in Ohio. My glasses are super whatever.
It tricked me because it's sunny. They're
right, transformed.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? Oh, I parked on the street last night because my parents are here, and I knew if I parked in the driveway, I wouldn't be able to get out. And
all I know is that it's cold and darn Ohio from this Ohio weather that we haven't had to experience all winter long.
We've been spoiled. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. We are excited.
My nose is
we need to do this. There we go. We're excited about this show. Good morning. It looks like we got a couple people jumping on here this morning.
Good morning,
see who it is.
Jim. Good morning, Kia. I'm gonna.
All right. We good? We all right?
Yes, but my nose is ready.
Use your sleep.
I'm like a little kid.
Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Kat.
So we really, literally just like slide in here like Kramer and then go.
Hey, oh, we should do that from now on. Instead of starting when we're in here, like slide on
I
camera.
feel like that might not work.
I know, right?
I just feel like it might not. I don't know.
And I'm clumsy. I will fall.
Well, that's why I was afraid when I was like cleaning and scraping off the windows. I'm like, I think first of all, I thought I might invest in a better scraper.
Oh, I wasn't. Did you have issues with it?
Yeah, it's just one of those like $3.99 ones or whatever.
Did it work?
It's pink though.
See? Everything's better
pink.
when it's pink.
Oh, I forgot. We're going to Starbucks. Okay. So we're doing that. And yeah, we've got a good show, I think. We have not really talked about this. It came up a little bit. Coupled like some of our conversations. There was something that popped up with Jim that we were talking about kind of authenticity, or at least I was talking at him about how awesome authenticity is, I feel like. But yeah,
I think this is going to get really good. So as you guys saw in the title, we're talking about transparency, vulnerability, authenticity, and oversharing. So I don't even know where to start with this one. Oh, well, we didn't introduce ourselves.
We did not. We always don't do that.
I'm Brenda.
I'm Kat.
And
we're SYLC Consulting.
We are. Good morning, Shelly. Oh, I have this phone right here, and I'm like,
oh, yeah.
Good morning, Shelly.
So, maybe we should work on an actual intro. You think?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think it's just, it's us. It's us.
It is. But sometimes we don't introduce ourselves.
You want to work on an introduction? Remember, we started with that, and it was little cheesy.
It was so
the more we
cheesy.
tried, the cheesier it got.
It was so cheesy, and it felt inauthentic.
Boom. There you go.
All right. We're not doing an intro.
And I think it came off when we tried to do it, and it wasn't who we were. I think it really came off. So,
yeah.
Nah.
Okay.
You'll get to know us.
So you just saw us make executive decisions about the show.
It works like that at work, too.
It does. It really does. All right. So where do we start? We introduced ourselves, and then what? I mean, I
guess the definitions.
Okay, so I don't have like full definitions, but I just kind of wrote down the gist.
Right.
Of them.
So we don't have Webster's, but we do have the gist of what we're talking about, and kind of explaining a little bit of the difference, because I think that's part of the problem, that some of us don't know that there is a difference between all of these things. So transparency is just how much you share about yourself.
And before we go, can we talk about like why it's important, or do you think we'll get into that?
I think we'll get to that after the definitions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Explaining it first.
Okay.
So transparency is how much you share. Authenticity is the truth behind your words. Ooh, I like this. And actions. Photograph. What's that?
Oh, that's my note. That's my note to me.
Oh, okay. Oversharing is when you reveal an inappropriate amount of detail about your personal life.
So if it's in pen, it probably isn't Like,
I probably shouldn't say that out loud.
Yeah.
Also, I shouldn't say wash towels. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't say that.
It should say that.
So, that's what mine should say. Intent is everything. Just being honest about our intent.
That was the part you were supposed to do. Yeah,
okay. I saw it after I went on. Oh, secretive versus private. I talk about this all the time.
So that I added, because we hadn't really talked about that, so I added that part.
I talk about that a lot, that there's a difference between secrecy and privacy. And then vulnerability is the state of being, I'm going to say, or feeling, of being or feeling exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed physically or emotionally. That's a really good definition for vulnerability.
That was an actual definition. The other ones were just kind of, I was reading up on it. And
Happy Galentine's Day, Kim. Thank you.
Happy Galentine's Day. We did a Galentine's meditation in the art museum. It felt so amazing and hoity-toity.
Was it hoity-toity?
Well, I mean, it's the art museum, so
right. A little highfalutin.
But it felt good. I mean, I was like so zenned out and so just chill. A lot of times when I do any type of like thing in public, I have an initial like heart palpitation thing happening.
You didn't have that.
Didn't have it.
That's what I'm talking about, girl.
It was fun. It was nice. It was really good. And then I was zenned out for the rest of the day. Got a lot done though. Very productive.
Kim said, "Ooh, that sounds awesome," and I didn't get to make it, so
maybe
I'm a little
we'll
jelly.
get to do it again. It was nice.
So, why do you think it's important that we know the difference between?
Well, I think that there becomes, especially a lot of it to me has to do with social media right now, and I feel like we're in a period of time where people are genuinely trying to heal, and some people don't either have the right tools on how to heal, and or they are misinterpreting some of these things. Like you said, some of these, that's why we gave the definition, because what is transparency? I mean, and what is private versus secretive? So I think, there's some confusion around those things, and we see people doing, healing. Like, so let's say, what's a reality show? Like, what's the Ayanya one? Ayanla. Man, I got her name wrong 3 times.
Ayanla.
Jeez. I always say Ayanla.
I forgot.
No, I don't. I don't know.
I forget what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
So, but I'm saying like those types of shows where we see people truly being vulnerable. Even like Dr. Phil, we see people being very vulnerable and sharing very intimate parts of their lives with the public. So I think we sort of get this perception that type of sharing equals healing.
Ooh,
and
okay.
I don't know that's always the case. Yeah.
I got it. For me, I think it's important that you know the difference for that reason, of course, understanding your own healing process. And I think it's important that we understand which stage that we're in. But I also feel like it's very personal. What is, you know what I'm saying? What differentiates one from the next? Yeah,
and I think that's where we'll come up with the intent.
Right.
Like, what's the intent?
Yes,
because you
absolutely.
and I have talked about this a little bit on our kind of how we are with what we share and all of that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think it's just important, again, just it's part of knowing yourself. It's part of that self-awareness that we need to understand exactly what it is that we're trying to ultimately accomplish, where we're going, and again, the intent. What is your purpose?
It's that self-awareness piece, I think, that is so important. And in this self-awareness piece, I think I guess every time is critical, but to get really, really honest with ourselves, like peel it back and truly, why am I doing this? What is my intent? And yeah, I think I wrote something down about that, but I don't remember what it was. And I'm in the Starbucks line, so I'm not driving. So
while we're waiting to really get started, Kim asked a question that I want to answer. It's a little off topic, but since we're in line and we're waiting anyways.
And I'm going to be talking in a minute.
Okay, how do you ladies handle mandatory interactions with people who aren't willing to embrace self-discovery and growth mindset?
I would want to know what mandatory means.
I was just
today.
Hi, great. How are you?
So, Kim, what do you mean by mandatory interactions?
Because an online order.
I don't believe that any interactions are necessarily mandatory.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
So she's going to tell us what mandatory means.
Okay.
So that probably answers your question a little bit while you're typing in exactly what that means.
Can you read the question again?
All right, Kat, so 2 Grande Americanos?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you at the front.
Thank you.
How do you ladies handle mandatory interactions with people who aren't willing to embrace self-discovery and growth mindset?
Okay, so I would go to my HR days, and if it's mandatory, I automatically assume it might be work-related. And those interactions, like if somebody's not willing to be, who doesn't have a growth mindset, depending on who it is, if it's a subordinate, then there are actions that you can take. And I told you my favorite policy was the unofficial attitude policy, which was failure to interact courteously and professionally to the point that morale or productivity suffers could be grounds for termination. Can you tell I loved it?
So HR-y.
I love it because...
But wait, before you go on,
okay.
She's talking about a parent, team parents at events and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe like if you're a teacher and your kids,
okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so it's not work related. Sorry, I went right
You went so HR and you were going to stay there for a long time.
I was, and I'm glad you stopped me. Because I was like, even when I was like resistant when you were like, let me interrupt you. And I was like, no, I'm in the flow. Don't you dare.
No. She can do that forever. She'll do it for hours. And she'll go, did you see how failure to act courteously and professionally? Like, oh my God, I don't want to. No.
So, I have another answer for that, but what's yours? Good morning.
What's...
Yes. Thank you.
The short answer is, I don't.
Thank you.
No, I'm just kidding.
What's that?
I said the short answer is, I don't. I think that the first thing that we have to consider is that we get to decide exactly what that interaction and communication looks like. And there are people in our lives that we have to interact and communicate with to a certain degree. But I think that with people who refuse to, whether it's the growth mindset or it's anything that doesn't align with my personal values or what it is that I choose to have be a part of my life, then I'm going to, that interaction is going to be very limited to the required amount of interaction that we have to have. It's going to be very direct, it's going to be specific, and it's going to be short.
Well, and I think it all boils down to healthy boundaries.
Absolutely.
So that's really what it is. And we've actually done 2 this month on 2 workshops on healthy boundaries, and it's been fantastic. I think people have gotten a lot from it, and we've even gotten a lot from what they've shared back with us, and what constitute a healthy.
I'm gonna sit this right here really quick.
Okay, so the need of it's gonna be really hot. We're gonna sit right where?
The thingy.
Oh, okay. And then you're gonna put it back. Why? Did you feel like you needed to inform me of that?
Because I might forget it and leave the interview.
That was a cat trick. I feel like that was a cat trick.
Right.
So
you say it out loud.
I do. I say things out loud so I will remember. Like I'm putting my keys on the table.
God, we're definitely morphing into this.
I know, it's really sad.
But so healthy boundaries. Go into that.
Yeah. So I think it is. It's knowing if people are draining you. So it sounds like these people are, and that would be
toxic people. Yeah,
and you can't control other people. You can't. You can only control yourself. And I'm not a huge fan of you can't control. You can only control how you react. And I think it's true.
It is.
Although it is true, and we have an amygdala that acts way faster than what our prefrontal cortex can. What am I doing today? Getting all like professional and stuff.
I don't know, but turn it off. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but that's what it
that was
is.
good, though. You're right.
But the amygdala, and that's why they call it an amygdala hijack, because when you're in that moment, so
nothing else really matters.
Really right, and so it does feel like, oh, we could have done that there too, huh?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'll live.
So yeah, I think it's taking that the take 2 that we teach of. Take a couple deep breaths, and maybe you have only time to take 2 deep breaths. Maybe that's your take 2.
Right.
But just before you react to it, and remember, I can't control them. I can control my thoughts about this. I can steer the situation, all those types of things. So that's my 2 cents.
Right, because I think that's kind of what happens after the healthy boundaries. Then it goes into that analyzing this specific relationship. I know that toxic is a huge buzzword, and some people use it way too much, but the fact of the matter is that that's exactly what it is. People can poison our energy with their negativity, and it in essence becomes toxic. Girl, I just came up with that. Listen, honey, we are flowing today.
Aren't we? What is going on? This is nice. Somebody recording this? Feels good.
I cannot deal with you today.
Make sure you're sharing this out, you guys. This is going to be some good stuff today. I can feel it. I feel it in my bones.
I can't.
My toes hurt though. They're very cold.
So does that help at all, Kim? Jim said, is the camera in a different spot today? I'm trying to turn it. Kat keeps going to drink her coffee and turning left, and it's not in a different. It's not in a different spot, but it is. The sun shining today, so
the sun is so.
It hasn't been in a while, and I think it's causing some, Oh no, it is, because I usually got to turn that way.
Oh, so what's happening, do you think?
So it's cutting you out, I think. Why do you ask, Jim? Were you seeing Kat be cut out? I think that's better. Jim will let us know.
Jim will let us know.
But it is. I just have my cell phone backwards into the into the holder. Because usually this part is down here, so the camera is more that way than this way.
Okay, I see.
So I hope that helped, Kim. We're going to go. I'll be looking for your comment in case it didn't. And then we'll go into more if you need. But, so, where were we?
That was a great question, too.
It was a really great question.
Yeah, so we said why. So what was the first one on the list was?
Transparency. Transparency.
So transparency to me, like, what, again, I mean, I guess I'm just in the HR mindset this morning for some reason. But for me, I always think about, work. I think about, like, when we were going through an acquisition and one of the companies that we were being acquired by, I was definitely looking to their leadership, their HR leadership team, because this was a big global corporation. We were a little bitty mom and pop. And he said, we need to have transparency, because if what we don't share with them, what they don't know, they will make up, and they will make up worst case scenario. So it was about, being transparent in that process and sharing with people the truth. And what does it say on there as far as so it's how much you share.
How much you share.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How much or how, because how much kind of has no limit, because that can get into oversharing really
exactly
quick.
And that's where I think we need to have what is transparency versus oversharing.
Right. I don't know. As a habitual oversharer, I don't know. I think I almost get defensive about this topic.
Right.
Because I share what I want to. Like what might be uncomfortable for me to share, I'm sorry. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate business from personal. Because what a recent realization that we had is that I'll share like almost, if I share a lot, y'all, like anybody who follows me on Facebook, from talking to a guy with my eyelashes on the bottom of my cup and not realizing it, to personal revelations and
that's after our photo shoot.
It was, and all kinds of stuff. So what I'm still trying to figure out and learn is what constitutes oversharing, because I wouldn't share anything that I wasn't comfortable with. And of all the stuff that I do share, please believe there's a whole bunch of stuff that I don't share as well.
Right.
So I'm like, for me, I have a difficult time ascertaining, especially when the business that we're in, I think there is a degree of likability and relatability that we have to people. So I love the fact that my clients can go, oh my God, I can't believe my coach did that. Oh my God, that's hilarious. And to kind of, like, I'm just a person too. Like, I struggle with this stuff too, and I want you to know that I get depressed too, and I get sad too, and I have rough days too. So all of those things that I communicate, I believe that they are with intent, but I believe that also on the SYLC side of it, that there could be an HR manager or a CEO somewhere that is like, this girl is a mess. I don't want to leave her in my boardroom with all of my employees. So trying to figure out the two different aspects of my business and what oversharing versus transparency looks like for the two different avenues that I work with.
That makes sense. And for me, I share, this is what we talked about. I mean, I definitely share things. I actually had somebody ask me, and I might have mentioned this last time, just last week, is your son okay with what you're sharing about him online? And that was because I had posted, what was funny is I had posted about him giving his girlfriend a cookie every day. Mm-hmm. By the way, last night he said that this is his second year with this girl, and he said this is only the second year that you haven't been my Valentine. That was oversharing.
That was oversharing.
I should not have done that.
Cute.
Can we rewind that? Wasn't that the best thing ever?
We can't rewind it.
And he said it in just a very nonchalant way, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry right now. I'm melting. But I didn't want him to know because, so anyway, that was oversharing. That was he probably wouldn't appreciate me sharing.
But I think the only reason that was oversharing is because it wasn't yours to share.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
100%,
so I think that's something that's an aspect of oversharing that we haven't thought about, because
that was me getting into my amygdala and getting all excited, and
it was exciting though.
Flooded with what is that called? What's the hug drug?
Serotonin? Dopamine. Serotonin. I don't know.
Well, I just forgot it. I can't believe it.
Kim said, I apologize. I hopped on a few minutes late and thought your topic was headed in a different direction. I was way off topic. Oh, no, we love it when you guys ask questions, and it was really a great question. So, no, it's fine. Jim said, for some of us, though, we find authentic connections by sharing. So, like, when some people get offended and view us as oversharing and they begin judging us negatively, it's almost like a reveal, right?
Yes.
Yes. We've discovered their hand, and now they might be more judgmental than accepting of a new connection.
I would agree with that. And that is something for me, I have to be mindful
Jim
of.
said I'm getting cut out a little bit now. We won't do this again. I'll make sure it's the right way next time. I'm going to scoot over closer to Kat.
Come on over here. And I remember last week I kept touching you.
You did. I felt harassed. I felt sexually harassed. I'm going to go to HR.
Fill out this form. Sorry, I really felt the need to drink right then.
Okay.
I would agree that it does help, and that was something that someone had said very early on with what we're doing here, and it was someone who would be a decision maker for us coming into their company, and they said, I don't know if I'd have you in there based on what I saw, and I was like, good, because this is how we present too. I mean, we might have a little more shenanigans, I think, on this.
I don't know though. Yeah, I don't think it's because we definitely get our point across in a presentation, but we have fun while we're doing it, and our participants. Participators.
I mean, I think that's something. So anyway, I do think that that's an important note to make, is that it does reveal a lot about the other person. So this is someone, and I love him dearly. Anyway, I almost overshared there. This is someone that I love dearly, and his perspective matters a great deal to me. And we probably wouldn't be a right fit because we made him, it made him slightly uncomfortable. It took him out of his comfort zone. Now, if you're somebody who wants to push yourself out of the comfort zone a little bit and then go, okay, why am I uncomfortable? What about this oversharing is making me uncomfortable? And I think it can reveal a lot about yourself too if you start to get uncomfortable with someone else's oversharing.
If a person is willing to do that, and that's, again, everything ties back to self-awareness. You have to be aware, hold on, and kind of pause and go, why do I feel uncomfortable with this information that this person is sharing about their lives? Like, I don't understand why I'm getting, and actually digging inside yourself and figuring it out. And it's like you said, the little piece of rebel that I do have in me goes, well, I wouldn't want to work with anybody who had an issue with how we present or how we communicate anyways. The practical part of me is like, everybody is your client at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You need to you need to find a balance. So I think it's important that I do the most, and I think we figured out a way that I can overshare to the people who I feel comfortable oversharing to. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, and I think, knowing the other part that almost ties into, or at least segues into, vulnerability, knowing your audience, I think, is part of that. Being vulnerable to the entire Facebook community. So a couple weeks ago, I did post something where I was talking about perfectionism, and I did check with my son and say, is it okay if I share this?
Right.
And it was that he was having a moment of perfectionism, and it really was weighing heavy on me, because for me, perfectionism manifests into some major self-critiquing, that becomes comparison, that becomes self-doubt, that becomes depression and anxiety. And it's, it moves into it manifests into something much deeper for him. So we had a conversation with it about it a little bit later when I felt like he wasn't going to be quite as heated. And I said, what are can we hold each other accountable to strive to work on our perfection? And he didn't hear me out at first. He was like, no, why would I not want to, strive to be my best? I'm like, hold on, I'm talking about striving for perfection, or striving for excellence versus perfectionism. And he was like, I wouldn't want to do that. Caught in his amygdala. I let him have his hijacked moment. And I said, okay, that's fine. Then I won't hold you accountable for it. Can you help hold me accountable for it? Because it is something that I struggle with. And I would like for us I'd love for you to help me on that. And it took him just a couple seconds to kind of calm down. He's like, okay, I get where you're coming from. And I can understand where perfectionism is causing anxiety. And, yeah, let's do that. So
that was a good conversation.
It was.
I think also... Also, where it comes to vulnerability, I think one thing that I realized is that as much as I share, I haven't been quite as vulnerable, do you know what I'm saying, as I'm like moving forward, that I've actually intentionally been for this year. Do you know what I mean? Like when we talk about like me telling more of my story, more of the intimate details of who I am, as vulnerable as I've been, I'm like, y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Like it's
okay,
so
there's
much more.
There's so many other levels. So you're being vulnerable on the day-to-day of stuff that's happening, but the stuff, the past, like when we had that show, that was a really very, very intentionally vulnerable moment for both of us. And that hadn't happened in like any other aspect. Like I didn't. Now that was intentional. I didn't find it necessary until I recently got the word from the big guy. Like, yeah, it's time for you to be a little more. And not only that, but I realized that my inability to be vulnerable was kind of like a bias. It was holding me back in a way, or holding me down in a way. And you know what I'm saying? Like when they say when you own who you are, nobody can use it against you. That kind of thing. And the other thing I think about oversharing or vulnerability, any of those things, I mean, I think I think sharing intimate parts of you, it's details of your life, let me clarify that, I think is something that you have to be, again, know your audience, know your intention, and I kind of forgot where I was going with
and
this.
Know yourself? That's where I was going, make sure I was prepared emotionally.
Yeah, no, but that's a really, really good point, but, oh, dang, because I said something that made me go, oops, I needed to...
Give me read some questions while you think
do that. I may or may not come back, but...
Jim said, I also like to share that Brenda is getting cut off camera a little bit now. Okay. Kim said, I recently invited someone to coffee who I didn't really understand. I only had our interactions to go from. So glad I did. She was able to share in a way that I now understand her motivation behind her behaviors. I think that's what's important too. That whole back to curiosity, not judgment. When we're more curious about the behaviors that people exhibit that we don't understand, and we go, hey, that thing you did, it communicate whatever reason it made you feel whatever it was feeling like. Can we talk about that a little bit? I'd like to get to know you a little bit better, and what drove that, or what's the driver behind that. And we had that recently too, where there was someone who posted something, and I'm like, I'm not understanding this. So we're going to get together with the person. You're like, who am I talking about? Okay.
So yeah, we're going to get to the person so we can understand there was animosity, not directed toward us, but just in general. And I know I was feeling like very, very led to uncover a little bit more, like what's behind this, because there was definite pain behind what was happening, and I wanted to.
I still think you were super awesome for doing that. Seriously.
Well, I mean, for real, I felt led, and it sounds like Kim did too. And I'm sure, knowing her and her faith and her background, I'm sure she felt led as well. And I think it's really important to listen to that stuff, because at the end of the day, if we know each other's stories, I promise you, when you get to know someone's story, when you don't understand why they act the way they act, and it doesn't mean that you're necessarily saying the behavior is okay either, because it could be that, you know what, this person has they act a certain way, and that's like what we were saying at the very beginning. You know, this is somebody that I'm going to have a healthy boundary around.
Right. I love that.
Warm up my toes.
I know. You got to turn it to the...
I did.
Okay.
And I turned it up a little
Jen
bit.
said, Brenda, is like layers of an onion, though, right? Like, we can share the outer layer easily, and there's so much of it. When you get to the core, it's much smaller, much more dense, and you have to get past all of those other layers first. Sometimes we might not be ready to peel all those layers back with those we're talking to. I agree. That's where I came to, like, this year. It was like, okay,
and
next
the more
layer,
layers,
please.
and the more layers you peel away, the more it makes you cry. Oh no! I didn't even think it was gonna make you. Did it come out your nose? That would be so bad. We need napkins. We have napkins. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God! Why was that so funny?
Because it was corny.
That was so corny,
funny.
but so funny and so good, but true. Oh my God, that was a good one.
Thanks.
But no, yeah, and it's definitely that. But that's where we. But I think it's so important to go that little bit deeper, because all of these, that's kind of where the Skittles came out the other week.
Right.
Because all of these, like, when you're still at the surface, okay, so using this onion analogy.
I like that. I like
you ever
the
take the
analogy.
top layer off the onion and kind of get down in there, and there's still like grime and grit, and so you have to take the next layer off before you can. So it's like I'm peel back the first layer, and it looks okay and everything looks good, and then I start to pull back that other layer,
Or
and I'm like,
got like a little bruise in it.
right, and I'm like, there's something.
I was gonna
You
go
always
this
do
way.
this on the
I was
street.
gonna go a different. I thought if I went this way, it wouldn't be as bumpy, and that is
Oh.
just not true. It's a brick road, you guys. It's really cool, but it's also really bumpy. So we're gonna go very slow because there's no one behind us.
That's fine. But what I'm learning is that as I get down to those layers, it really helps me, because I'm realizing that maybe I'm not as healed in that area as I
That's
thought
what
I
I
was.
was gonna say. It came back. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So there's and I sent you, there was a YouTube video about oversharing, and basically one of the things that she was saying was waiting until you're healed. Like, you don't want to share when you're in the middle of that mess. That's a time to share publicly, or with, Facebook, or, with the Starbucks person. That's the time to talk to a trusted friend, advisor, a counselor, a therapist. Oh my goodness.
Now that's something I think
never go this way.
It's okay. That's something I think I naturally did because of my unwillingness to be completely vulnerable at times. Was I would always wait until I went through it and I had a lesson, so I had something to give
what I think
the people who I was forcing to listen to me.
I think a lot of your, like, what maybe we're kind of talking about with the oversharing, I think a lot of that, you do share what your lesson was in it. Like, you had the thing the other day where, you had your keys locked in, and the person said something to you.
And I was mean.
But but you knew you were mean because you were frustrated with the situation. You weren't mad at her. You were frustrated with the situation. And to me, that was like, and here's the lesson I learned almost instantly. So you share it in a way that helps people reflect on their own.
Right. That's what I try very hard to do. And I'm like, I usually... So I think, like I said, I kind of naturally did that, because I would go like, okay, what can somebody learn from this? What did I learn from this? What was the point? Or what's the point in going through all of this story and then getting to the end? And it's like, okay, that's it. That's the end of the story. Like, no, I really wanted there to be some depth.
Right.
there.
Right. And again, it goes back to intention.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the one really big thing about oversharing that I think we have to get really honest with ourselves is this sharing being done in a way to manipulate or to gain sympathy from other people?
I'm like, that's leading us into authenticity.
Right. So that's the, am I doing this? So, I'm part of a group, and we were doing some,
how did we get back so fast?
Because I took a completely different way. I went gent and came around.
Oh, okay.
And, I went a different way. So there was, we were doing some work. I'll call it a mastermind, and it was on I forgot what I was saying. I totally forgot. Oh,
we were on authenticity.
I know, but
so you were telling something about the group.
The honest, gaining sympathy.
Thing?
Manipulate. No. So manipulate. I don't even know if I'm going to go into the photograph thing, but it was about manipulating. So this person was saying something along the lines of, they were getting overly dramatic. Someone in their life was getting overly dramatic when they made a mistake. And oh my gosh, I'm the worst person in the world. You must now. And I worry about this. I'm going to overshare a little bit on purpose. Sometimes I feel like Trevor does that. I feel like my son does that, where when he does something wrong, it's like, hey bud, I told you to take the trash out and you didn't. Oh my gosh, I'm the worst person ever. Then I become the consoler.
And you're like, oh no, don't. Yeah.
And I'm like, no. So I don't do that anymore. I'm like, no, you're not the worst person ever, but it does suck that you didn't do what I asked you to. How can we remember it in the future?
I think now I'm being extra. I'm going to exaggerate because I was going to say, I think I'm a horrible parent here because because Corey used to try that a lot, and he would do that, and I would go, if not taking the trash out makes you a horrible person in your eyes, then you are. Now take the trash out. I mean, I don't know what to. So he would like, well, I mean, not a horrible, exactly. Like, you know that you're being extra right now. Just take the trash out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like I would kind of go the other way and agree with him. Like, if you're not doing what I told you to do, in your eyes makes you a bad person, then fine.
I don't think that's just a different parenting style, and I think that's important too. The end result was the same. Right. The trash got taken out. But,
and he realized that he was being extra.
Right. So, so I think that keeping in mind now, one of the things for me that I love to really pay attention to, and I think what happens a lot when we talk about this kind of stuff, people are like, ooh, I know someone in my life that manipulates me and does this to me because they go way over and they do all this stuff. I'm saying take all of this stuff and hold a mirror up and look back and say, do I ever do that? And it is hard sometimes to do that, but I know I wouldn't say I wasn't like a master manipulator, but I definitely, I was definitely not self-aware for part of my adult life.
Right.
And where I would do that, I would overreact. I didn't know what the reason was, but subconsciously that's what it was. So I think it's important for us to look and go, am I trying to manipulate this situation? Gain sympathy, that can be another reason for oversharing. So if I am trying to gain sympathy, what do I need in my own life?
Ooh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, why am I sharing to the point that,
It's funny. Do you know what taught me to do that? It's so funny. I used to watch Ghost Hunters. And they used to go in and they would say, we are going in with the intent to debunk this myth. So we're going in here not to prove that there are ghosts here, but to prove that there are not ghosts here and to try to justify away each of the occurrences that we're seeing that people might relate to ghost activity. You're like, where are you going with this?
I am.
I'm like, so when you talk about, like you said, if you hear us talking and you think about somebody else, you should think about yourself. Like, debunk your notion that you don't do that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, first,
I like that.
Analyze yourself, look at yourself and go, did I do any of those things? Like, go in with the intent first saying, I do this, and then debunk that on your way down. And then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's kind of what I do. When I hear something that I get a reaction to and I'm like, oh my gosh, that sucks. Why would somebody do that? I go, okay, let me flip it. So let's say if I were the one doing that. And sometimes as I go through that process, I go, ooh, you were doing that. You were the one doing that. And that's what helps kind of lead me toward whatever I have to do to repair or rectify or change whatever the behavior is.
And that's not to be critical of yourself either.
No, not at all.
Do it with that curiosity and not judgment. Okay, I'm doing this. So this is probably an area that I could work on to heal.
And usually that's what it is. I love that you say that because usually it's a pain point and it's something that you need to heal, not necessarily something that makes you... And now you're getting a better understanding of that other person as well. If this is a pain point for me, it's probably a pain point for them as well.
I love that. Yes, because you really are... Once you understand yourself, then you start understanding others. That's why we're so big on this self-awareness piece, because when I dug deep and really understood my pain, where I needed to heal, and started to heal, my acceptance of other people and where they're at, oh my gosh. You know, I mean, it was, and I'll tell you, for a while, it was euphoric. It was like, just, I love
you love everybody.
I'm like, I know you have a story. I love you. But now I've come down a little bit from that cloud, and I'm like, yeah, you know,
because then you start to go. Then after that euphoric moment, I went into a moment of complete judgment and going, you can get over this if you really think. If I did it, you can do it too.
And I think that's a natural progression of being sort of like really self-aware and kind of going through a bit of an awakening around it.
Oh, yes, that's what it was
That's
like.
really what happens. I think we tend to... Okay, just want to make sure that person was okay. That was a...
Kim said, like the old saying, when you point a finger at someone, there are 3 pointing back at you. That is so true.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. And I think, you know, looking at that and going, what is that? What is that pointing back to me? What's the story this is telling me?
Right, because ultimately, I think more than anything, what I kind of think about is I have so much going on in my life.
Don't you be my neighbor? Don't you want to live there?
I'd like to live in this neighborhood.
And won't you be my neighbor?
Won't you be my neighbor? But you made me forget.
Sorry.
Oh, where was I going? I don't remember. But no,
the fingers pointing back. Was that it? Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. My squirrel.
Right. And your squirrel became my squirrel. Your spin affected my spin.
It does. That happens. It's true.
But I don't know. I don't know. I want to remember what I was going to say. Oh, so we can go into the secretive versus privacy.
Okay. Yeah, we can like wrap it up on that one.
Yes. I love that. That's one of my favorite concepts.
The wrapping it up?
Secrecy versus privacy.
Yes, that was a big one for me that I had to realize. Hey, that's my dad. Hi, Dad. That's our printer.
Is it?
Yes, we're gonna take it
to the office.
Yep.
I'm so excited. Does it have? We'll talk about it.
Wi-Fi.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we fancy.
It's fancy. we got a big old printer. It's so huge. He told me it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
how exciting is that?
I know, right?
How are you guys gonna get it up? Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. So funny. That's exciting.
Yeah. So secrecy versus privacy.
What's the difference for you?
For me, it was that I was trying to hide things purposely that I was ashamed of.
Ooh, shame.
For me, I had to really look at the time I was in a relationship and I was like, ooh, I'm not talking about it because I'm private. No, I wasn't talking about it because it was unhealthy and I was keeping it from people because I didn't want them to know that I was continuing to make an unhealthy choice.
Ooh, honey.
Yeah. So I had to get really honest with myself and go, yeah, I'm private about that kind of stuff. But that was different. That was secretive. That was very different.
I didn't realize it looked crazy.
I love it.
But I think that is intent. It all goes back to intent as far as that goes, because you can be private and or secret about the same situation. Like you said, it's a situation that you likely would have kept private anyways.
Yes.
But you weren't keeping it private for privacy's sake. You were keeping it secret for judgment's sake. You were kind of judging yourself.
Well,
and
rightfully so.
Understanding that, like, sometimes it is judgment and not curiosity, and that's something to look at too. But
yeah.
Wow.
How about you?
Pretty much the exact same. That's why I'm like, I don't know if this is a good one, because I don't have any. It's the exact same thing, and I've learned that in my relational interactions with like guys. Like, you'll run across guys who will say, like, I kind of, I keep everything private. I'm a private person. It's like, no, you share almost everything that you do on Facebook. It's awfully funny that you don't want to share that you're dating somebody, or you know what I'm saying? Like, to pick and choose the things that you decide to share. Like, even for me, I had a friend of mine who went, you just, as soon as the last guy that I was dating, he was like, it's like as soon as you guys started dating, you just kind of started putting it out there. And I was like, no, we actually have been dating for a little bit, but I share a lot of my life on Facebook for whatever reason, whatever that I could relate, something that I was going to in that relationship with. If I felt like there was something people could learn, I'm going to share it. So I'm not going to go, hey, y'all, I'm in a relationship now, but I might go, me and my guy were having a conversation yesterday and this came up. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm not hiding it, but it kind of gets slid in where it gets slid in.
And
I'm like,
I disagree with you though on the part where the picking what parts you share. There's a part of what I would consider my private life that I don't know that I will ever want to share. Like I look at that's a part that I don't think I would want out there for anyone for a lot of different reasons. So there are, I might share stuff about my son, but I'm not going to share things about, if I'm in a relationship, something about that.
Right. And I mean, that's fine. I just don't want to be involved with anybody who causes me to question because our relationship is very public. Our people, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, people know.
Are you breaking up with me?
No, but I'm saying, like, if I feel like you are purposely extracting our interactions and communications from everybody that you communicate everything else to, then I'm gonna go, there's something fishy about that, and it just doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Right.
So I'm like, I just don't want to have to deal with that. I'm not saying that anybody has to change their relationship status, but if I see that you are purposely extracting our interactions, like I had one guy and something happened when we went to the movies. He mentioned the occurrence, but he specifically said, "Oh, I was at the movies and this happened." Like he didn't say.
Or they take a picture of like their plate and
your plate
the drink,
is
and then, can you move your drink over?
Right.
I want it to look like there's only one beer here.
Right. So I'm like, that's the difference between secrecy and privacy.
I gotcha.
If you're being private, then you're just not gonna. Maybe you don't post who you're with, but you can say, "Me and a friend of mine were at the movies and this happened." Don't say I was here and I was there. No, you weren't there by yourself. You were with somebody. And why is it that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, that's a huge difference between the whole privacy and like, I'm clearly a secret. That's not you being private. That's you being secretive.
Right. Okay, I got you on that one.
So yeah. But I think it's something important. All of this stuff, and it all depends on, we always go back to this. We give people like tons of advice and then goes, but whatever works for you.
Right. Well, I don't know that this is advice as much as it's like what works for us and kind of maybe we need to do a disclaimer on all of these that like, it's
the views expressed here on the drive are not the views of anybody related.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because you do have to find what works for you, and you have to ask yourself some questions and get honest with yourself about the answers.
Right. I agree. Know
yourself to grow yourself.
See yourself to be yourself.
Get real to heal.
Can we just talk about for a hot second? I know we're almost over. We have reflections coming up, and we got like a good group of ladies for this round of reflections.
So excited.
So many that we are, well, not so many ladies, but we have so many people who are now interested that we're going to do it again. But this is a 4-month-long program, so it won't be until at some point after that. But this group is awesome. I'm so excited for everybody who signed up for reflections. So thank you. I love y'all. If you want to come into the next round, we'll figure out the dates. It should be like June or July, somewhere in there. Right?
Yeah. We're going to have the certification program in June.
Certifications in June. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But there will be another round coming up. So if you are interested in it, let us know. And
we could run more than one at a time.
We can. That's why I'm like, we'll figure it out. It'll be pretty easy to run more than one at a time because we could. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys. We hope that this episode was helpful, just as we hope that all of them are. If you have any questions, any input whatsoever, let us know.
Yeah. And Kim, I know you have an event coming up. Can you post that in the comments if you're still on here?
I don't think she wanted everybody to.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a secret, but she doesn't necessarily want everybody to be there. So she probably won't post the information.
Okay. You don't have to.
But it's okay. She doesn't mind that people knows, but she doesn't want the public to be there. Like she does, but she doesn't.
Okay. Dang it. I got caught twice oversharing on this one.
Oh, and we will not be here next week.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
So it's kind of late. We only got 7 people on. Sorry. If you're watching the replay, let everybody know. We won't be on next week. we'll be taking our first break. It's gonna feel weird.
Yeah, we both have something going on.
We do.
So
yeah. So we won't be on next week. We'll be back the following week, and we don't know what we're talking about yet. So it depends on what happens during these next 2 weeks.
I know what we're talking about.
Oh, what is it?
We're gonna have
Like
Diana and you and me and oh my gosh, I totally
another
forgot her
Ask
name.
the Coach?
Yeah, but they're gonna ask us about the Manitou Incline.
Oh,
Like we're gonna go through that, but
Okay.
she's gonna
I can't remember either, but I know who you're talking about.
I feel really bad that I'm forgetting her name. I'm doing it live. Don't look at me right now.
I'm leaving. Okay, so not next week, but the following week, you get to see somebody interview us, which would be really cool. So, alrighty, we love you guys, and we'll talk to you next week. And Kat's gonna post the name of the person who's gonna interview us because it's gonna drive her nuts.
And she's got the coolest name too. It's like she's got a really cool last name that to me means like I don't know. Let's go. Let's get off here.
All right. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Oh. Can you post a replay next week like they do on radio shows?
Oh, yeah, it's a great idea, Kim.
That's a good idea, Kim. Yes, we will do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll post a replay next week.
Love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Love you guys. Talk
All
to you
right,
soon.
see you later.